Hello, howdy, and welcome back to my kitchen. I'm Kathryn, the Aerogarden Homesteader. So, we are in the swing season still, and we got a rare, cool day today. So I am going to try to make a bunch of freezer meals to make summer cooking just a little bit easier on me. I also have, I think next week is going to be another cool day, or another cool week. So I'm going to try to get, I'll see if I can try to get more freezer meals in the freezer so that I don't have to worry about it over the summer. We don't always have time to grill or smoke or any of that, so you know this'll just make meals a little easier. I will be saving some of my clippings, as long as they don't look moldy. That one kind of looks off. But I will save these for soup stock. Anything that looks dirty or nasty, like that's nasty, I'm not going to save. I do think one of my onions went bad. Might be this one. So I got out extra. But I'm going to be doing 2 meals today, I think. One's going to be kind of a cream of chicken base because we accidentally bought a can of cream of chicken and opened it, so it has to get used. I also have another can that is past its expiration date, which doesn't really mean anything for some things. So if I need to make extra sauce, I have more that I need to use up. Otherwise, I'll just use the one that's open. I also have some half and half that I froze, and I know that sometimes it doesn't thaw with the greatest of texture, so I thought I would use some of that here, and I thought I would also experiment with it to see if there's any way to correct the texture. I've heard blending it can help, but I do wonder if heating it up and melting all the fats together would help too. So I'm going to get a bunch of my cutting done right now, but I am going to get the onions started for the first dish because I don't have enough room on my cutting board. So those can get going. I have some sad looking celery here. Been in the fridge for a couple days too long, so I will just use it all up. It is also dirty. So, obviously the nice thing about freezer meals is they're convenient because they're already pre-made, but for us in the summer, the nice thing is I have a turkey roaster I can put out on my deck and I don't have to heat up the house. So it is perfect for summer cooking. So you can still have a relatively fast, convenient meal without heating up your house. And that is what I'm trying to do today. Today's a cool day. I'm going to quote, heat up the house. We got all the windows open, so I'm not going to heat it up by very much, but that will get my heating the house out of the way, and then over the summer I can just put the turkey roaster out on the deck, and away we go. The other thing you can do is, if you're a fan of them, is bagged slow cooker meals. I've never really done them. Normally I just thaw things and throw them in the slow cooker as needed. I've never really done pre-bagged stuff. I can see the convenience in it, but if that's your thing, you can do that as well and throw your slow cooker out on the deck. I like to put a inverted cookie sheet under my appliances because I'm setting them on a surface that cannot handle the heat. So I have one of those plastic fold-out tables, and I don't really want to melt it. So I just put something under the appliance just to make sure I'm not, you know, damaging anything. Okay, I'm going to save some of this for the Mexican dish, and the rest of this can go in here. Actually, I'm going to just throw it all in here. Just realized I don't think celery is going to go well. This is onion roulette. Let's see which onion. Oh, that one's pretty good. Alright, well, I don't know if it's worth cutting into the other ones because I don't need more than this. So we'll just put those back in the fridge. I like to keep my onions in the fridge because it prevents them from going bad quickly. I also feel like they're a little less acrid on my eyes. Their mileage may vary, depends on the type of onion you're using, but I just prefer to do it that way. Okay, there you go. And I will put some peppers in this, so that will round out this dish. That can go in the freezer. This is the dish I'm using. It's just a glass one. I've got a metal one that's the same size. It's approximately 6 by 8 inches. This is a good one where I can do, 3 larger portions or 4 smaller portions. Just depends on who's eating it. I got some picky kids, so sometimes they don't eat the freezer meals. I have to come up with something else for them. So that being the case, I don't want to make a ton of food that only one person will eat. So, I'm going to try to remember to salt at each stage because that's supposed to be the best way to go. It also helps to draw out a little bit of the moisture from the onions at this stage to help them brown a little bit more, which gives them a better flavor in my opinion. That one just went on the floor. Okay, so early this morning, while the house was still super cool, I roasted up some chicken. I'm going to pull off any of the excess fat that I can easily get to, and then I will cut this up and have it ready to go once that's ready. I think that's what's coming out. I got 3 of these. These were actually the ones that I showed you how to debone chicken, and I made some stock with bones. All I did was I salt and peppered it because I wanted to keep the flavors pretty simple so that whatever I decided to put on would work with the chicken. So I'm going to turn that down so I don't burn anything. You can tell when it gets close to burning because it's like it changes sound. Yeah, that's down. Get this chopped up and ready to go. Okay, there we go. I'm actually going to hold on to the knife because I got more chicken to cut up, but let's get this in the pot. There we go. Cut up the rest of the chicken for the other dish, so I don't have to worry about it, and then I can get the knife and the board out of the way. Okay, there you go. I can put this in the sink, and it is done. Okay, multitasking may not be my strongest suit, but they're not burnt. They're just dark. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next step. We'll get some fresh garlic in there. It's actually bottled. Fresh garlic being the stuff from a bottle. Probably put in about 3 or 4 cloves worth. Now, I don't want to cook that for too long because I don't want it to burn and get acrid tasting. So, try to keep it in the pan. I am also adding onion powder and garlic powder because it'll give different layers to the taste, because they do taste slightly different. Put in a little smoked paprika. I'm going to put in more salt. And just a little pepper. Got some chive, dried chive. It doesn't taste that great. I'm just throwing it in everything to use it up. And I thought I would throw in a little bit of powdered basil. So this is the stuff that came out of the Aerogarden. I just powdered it all up because I had some stuff that was a little less than desirable. So we're just going to put a little bit of that in. And a little bit goes a long way with the freeze-dried stuff. So get that all mixed up. So that should help bloom any of the spices that need to be bloomed. Alright. So here's what we're going to do. Get this all in with the chicken. And now I'm going to build my cheese sauce, or my cream of whatever cheese sauce. Got some ghee here. I shouldn't need to build up too much of a roux because the cream of soup has some stuff in it. I just want to cook that flour a little bit so it's not going to be too flour tasting. Let's see how this looks. So I have thrown frozen half and half in my tea. I mean, eventually the little chunks dissolve, so it's not that bad. Let's see, it doesn't look too bad actually. There was a really good sale for half and half at our local gross out, so I went and bought a whole bunch. So I have a whole bunch of it in the freezer to use up. Okay, I want to make sure I get all of the flour and oil, or flour and ghee mixture off the pot, or the pan here, so it doesn't clump. Stir it in well. I will be adding cheese to this and the cream of soup, so but this is going to be a very rich meal. This will be a case of a little goes a long way. This will actually taste really good with sourdough bread. I'm hoping I can fit in another loaf before the weather turns too hot. I like to keep it in the freezer so I can just pull out a slice whenever I want, and it's really good. Toasts up well from frozen as well. Okay. So this is that American cheese I had shredded up a while back. I'm just going to put a bunch in there. I'll probably also put a little bit on top. But this might actually do well with a crunchy topping. So something with like breadcrumbs. The cheese was frozen, so it will take it just a little bit longer to melt and incorporate than usual. I also did have my heat low because I don't want to scorch anything. Nothing worse than scorched milk. Ew. Plus it sticks to the bottom of your pan, and that's just a pain to clean. Okay, I'm going to add in some Parmesan. I know this isn't the greatest, but we got it. We got to use it up. Use what you have. This is just how it is for some people, you know. You just have to get the cheap stuff sometimes. If you got good stuff, this might be a good spot for it, or as part of the topping. Parmesan with breadcrumbs in it might be really good. So this does have a bit, because I put the basil in, this is going to be a little bit more on the Italian side of the flavor spectrum than anything else. And that American cheese, it's pretty mild tasting cheese, so I can kind of use it for a base for anything almost. Okay, so that looks like it is almost all melted. I've got some of those chunks are onion chunks, some of them are actually from the parm that I just threw in there, the fake parm. Let's not call it the real stuff because it ain't. Okay, so I'm going to get the soup in here because it just has to get used up. The liquid is milk. I used it to rinse the can. I always do that because I want to get everything out of the can if possible. So if you don't have cream of chicken soup, you don't happen to have a can that accidentally got opened, or you don't want to buy it or whatever, just make more sauce. I wouldn't have put in a can if I didn't have to use up a can. So this is just to use up the can. I would have just made more roux. I would have put in probably twice the amount of ghee and flour, and I would have probably put in a little bit more cheese and almost twice the amount of milk, or half and half. You can do half and half, or milk, or a little cream, a little milk, whatever you have. Any kind of dairy product will... I don't know if you can use a nut butter to make a cream sauce. I know you can use nuts to make a cream sauce. So if you're vegan, I've made recipes that called for soaked cashew that made a really nice cream sauce. That is, you just soak the cashews and then you blend it. But it's a different technique than this one. So I don't know if I would use nut milk in this process, is what I'm saying. I would find a different way to make the cream sauce. Mind you, if you're putting chicken in. Okay, so might need to thin that down a little bit more. Use a little bit more half and half. Yeah, that does not look grainy at all. Maybe it wasn't in the freezer long enough. Okay, get this mixed in. We'll be adding some water to this. I am going to dilute this down with some water because I am going to just put my pasta in with everything else uncooked, and it will just cook as it warms up. Well, I guess that doesn't make sense, but the pasta will be the only thing raw in this dish, if that makes more sense. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Turn this off for now so it doesn't do anything weird. Okay, let's bring this back over. We're going to get all of this put in here. Oh, it smells good. Let's see where we're at. Oh yeah, definitely got a few. The soup did not, I didn't get all the chunks out of the soup. Okay, there's that. Let's see where we stand. Okay, so if you didn't see my last video on this technique, I got it from Adam Ragusia. I think it was him. I think that's the name. So he was showing how to not cook your pasta for your casseroles. And it requires putting in about the same weight of water as weight of pasta. I'm not going to weigh my pasta, I'm not going to weigh my water, I'm just going to eyeball it. I want it to be a little looser and sloppier than it would be under normal circumstances if I was using cooked pasta. But I do find that the pasta doesn't have that overcooked texture to it. Versus when I make traditional freezer meals using pre-cooked pasta, I feel like it's overcooked. Even though I undercook my pasta by like a good 2 or 3 minutes, it still sort of has that overcooked, mushy texture to it that's just slightly unpleasant. So I'm going to keep doing it this way because it saves me a pot, sort of. It saves me from having to pre-cook my pasta. And it also means that on a warmer day like this, I don't have to worry about heating up the house in the afternoon. Not that it's afternoon, it's morning, it's still early. Okay. I'm using penne because it's what I have, and it expired. Let's go for gold. Probably too much. I'll do a quick cleanup, and then I'm going to get it in the containers. I'm going to have to pull a lot of this out again because I will be using some of the same spices for the next dish, but some of it I can get rid of. Okay, well, let's see how much a pound of pasta will fill. Nice if I can just do 2 of these. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick cleanup, and I am going to set up for the Mexican dish, which is next. Mostly because I'm using the same pots and pans, so they need to get at least rinsed. Okay, on to the next dish. So, this one will hopefully come together slightly faster just because I don't have to chop as much stuff. So let's get the onions going first, since they take the longest. Okay, I also went down and got a few things out of my pantry. So I have some lime salsa. We put lime in. It was over the top on the lime. I don't know what happened. Tasted fine before I canned it. It was overpowering afterwards. So we've been using it as a chili base. You can still taste the lime, but it mutes it down. I've also got some of the mixed beans that I made a while back, and some tomato paste just in case. Also home canned. So everything has been tidied up. My pot is still wet, but that shouldn't make a difference. Forgot to grab pasta while I was down there. Oh, that's just lovely. Okay, well, this will also be a pasta-based dish, so I will be doing the same technique, but probably a different shape of pasta. So while this cooks, I think I will just run back down and find some pasta. actually, maybe I don't have to run back down. I have some macaroni noodles from last time that I didn't finish using up, so I will use those up. Haha, saves me the trip of running back downstairs again. Okay, let's get these cooked up. Now I do have some peppers in the freezer that also need to get used, so I will be throwing those in. And I have some really sad looking hot peppers in the fridge. I don't think I'm going to throw those in because they look really sad. I feel bad. I might have to just toss those. They were like the last peppers from the last Aerogarden. They just didn't get used. I didn't have a good use for them at the time. And yeah, they just went bad, unfortunately. I don't have many left, but we'll use them up. We have some freeze-dried hot peppers, so I can throw some of those in there as well, and that will give us our little bit of heat there. So I don't know if you noticed this, but on the first dish I made, I didn't taste anything. This is a really bad habit of mine. I tend to cook by feel and smell and like appearance, and I'll just throw stuff in and I'll just sit down and eat it for dinner. Doesn't matter how it tastes, it just works out somehow. That's probably why I undersalt, because I'm not tasting it to sort of determine that final salt level. But it's odd. I've never really had a problem with putting in too much of something. I am probably putting in not enough of stuff, but like I haven't noticed doing something over the top. So it's just a weird cooking style of mine that I've, obviously never seen people on YouTube do that, because they try to do it the proper way and make sure you're doing everything. Make sure you're tasting your stuff so you get your salt level correct at least. It's also nice to make sure that, your pepper is fine and your basil is okay, or your heat level is fine. Yeah, that's not me. I don't know why. I seem to be just like, oh, smells right, so must be done. Is anyone else like that? Maybe I'm not alone. Okay, I am going to get my peppers in here. They probably shouldn't take long because they've been frozen, and that does tend to break down the cell walls, but I still would like to give them a little bit of a chance to cook. Get some garlic in there, probably about the same thing, 2 to 3 cloves. I like to take a spoon and push all the garlic down so I don't get these dry bits. You can't use the dry bits, so I try to save everything by pushing it down. Just in case you like to get your garlic this way, this does help preserve it a little bit better. You notice this stuff seems to last forever in the fridge. I've never seen it go bad, and sometimes it takes me like a year to use it. Probably get smaller bottles, honestly. I'm turning that down because I don't want to burn my garlic. This is pretty darn close. I think at this point I'm going to get my chicken in my wet pot. Okay, there we go. Some pretty big pieces in there, but I'm just going to roll with it. This might be one of the easier ones. I'm probably just going to bloom my spices and then dump everything in here and mix it. So it's pretty darn close. Probably should have done this one first. I might have messed up a little bit less. Okay, so let's get some spice in here. I'm going to get some smoked paprika. I'm going to get some cumin. This is actually the ground cumin that we ground together. I don't know if you can see the 2 different colors. The darker one is the one that came from the cumin I grew over the winter. So that's pretty cool. Let's see, no basil. Okay, I'm going to put in some chive because I got it and I need to use it. Put in just a little bit of taco seasoning. It'll give me just a little bit of that. I'm sure it's got MSG in it. But if I'm missing anything, this will sort of cover my bases on that. So, ground cumin. Just go for gold. Smoked paprika. Onion powder. This does not need to be bloomed. Garlic powder. Got some cilantro. These are just the stems that I blitzed up. So I'm just going to put a little bit in because it is more powerful than I expect it to be. I got some chili powder. I don't know how spicy this one is. I'm just going to put a pinch in. And I'm going to put in some chili flakes. And a pinch of that. Okay, so that is essentially it. I might put in some cilantro leaves just so I have a bit of these leaves for visual appearance. You know, so everything looks pretty. But I can start mixing this up. So let's get that heat off. And let's get my pot over here. Oops. Okay, all of that in there. Okay, I'll probably rinse that with water later just to make sure I got my water content at the right spot. So let's get my limey salsa, my mixed beans, and some corn in there, and then we can see how everything is doing. Okay, that is hot. It's a shame, it was a really nice salsa. And I think I need to go find probably some tomato sauce just to help loosen this up. I got tons of tomato sauce, oh my gosh. I might not need the tomato paste, although I might put in a little bit and just thin it so that it works well with the pasta. Okay, well, it's tomato sauce. I don't know what spices it has in it, but it has spices. So, it's pretty mild. I think it'll work fine with this. Everything else should be overpowering compared to whatever spices are in here. So, just put in a bunch of that. Get a little bit of water. There we go. Good to the last drop. Okay, there we go. Good to the last drop. Use it all. Okay, let's see where we're at. So I'm not using a recipe here. I just threw a bunch of things together. I will try to write down what I did, but check the show notes, see what you can find. It might just be rough guidelines. Some of it's personal taste. I mean, you know, if you don't like cumin, you're not going to put it in. If you don't like cilantro, you're not going to put it in. Speaking of cilantro, I'm going to put some of the leaves in, just to make it look a little prettier. Not too much because I don't want to have a ton of cilantro. I don't want it overpowering with cilantro. Okay, so there is that. Now I'm going to add the pasta and see if my water level looks okay. Okay, pasta. Probably want a good pound of pasta in this, maybe a little bit more. I think that's going to need a little more water. Because I never salted enough, I'm going to put in some more. I am supposed to salt it a little bit more just for the pasta itself. So, pasta will need salt for itself. Okay, well that is looking pretty good. I'm going to, this might actually go into 3 containers. It looks like it's a little more than the other one. So, let me at least get 2 of them set up. See, again, I forgot to taste it. And I probably won't. Okay, now that everything is portioned out and cleaned up a little, I'm going to make sure I knock the camera. I'm going to put some cheese on top. So this is a Mexican blend of cheese. So it's frozen, so it does have some chunks in it, but it's going back in the freezer, so I guess it doesn't matter. Now I will bake these at 325 covered for probably about 45 minutes or so. That will get everything cooked. Then I can take the foil off. So I don't cover it with the plastic lid, I cover it with foil. And then I will take the lid off and let the cheese do its melty brown around the edges thing. So that's for this one. For the other one, it's going to be the same cook time, but I will add some breadcrumbs and parm to the top, and maybe a little butter or olives, like a spray, just to, make a nice crispy topping. So there you go. That is that. So this one got 3. The other one got like 2.5. I decided to not fill them quite so much and save one for dinner tonight. And this is what I managed to accomplish today. I got a little one for dinner, and then these are the 3 Mexican ones. The other ones were the 3 Italian-based ones. This came together pretty quick. It was probably about 2 hours, and part of that was cleaning time. But otherwise, I hope you found this video useful. Thanks for spending time with me today, and I will see you next time on the Aerogarden Homestead.